We begin our second lecture in a theoretical course of English grammar. The topic of this lecture is Dimensions and Levels of Linguistic Analysis, Syntagmatic and Paradigmatic Relations between Lingual Units, and Hierarchical Structuring of Language System. This lecture consists of two parts. In the first part, we'll discuss syntagmatic and paradigmatic relations between lingual units. By virtue of their potentiality of occurrence in a certain context, lingual units enter into relations of two different kinds. When elements combine with others along a horizontal dimension, they enter into syntagmatic relations. Syntagmatic relations are immediate linear relations between lingual units of the same level in a segmental sequence or string. Let's consider an example. A beautifully dressed girl is talking to my brother in the yard. In this sentence, words are connected syntagmatically within the following word groups: beautifully dressed, a beautifully dressed girl, a girl is talking, my brother is talking to my brother, and is talking in the yard. Morphemes within the words are also connected syntagmatically: beautifully, dressed, talking, and phonemes and graphemes are syntagmatically connected within morphemes and words. The combination of two words or word groups in a segmental sequence, one of which is modified by the other, forms a unit which is referred to as a syntactic syntagma. There are four main types of notional syntagmas in English grammar. The first is predicative syntagma, which represents a combination of a subject and a predicate. In our example, the predicative syntagma is a girl is talking. The second syntagma is objective syntagma, which is a combination of a verb and its object. In our example, it is talking to my brother. The third type of syntagma is an attributive syntagma, which represents a combination of a noun with its attribute. For instance, a beautifully dressed girl and my brother. The last type of syntagma is an adverbial syntagma, which is a combination of a modified notional word, such as a verb, adjective, or adverb, with its adverbial modifier. In our sentence, we have two adverbial syntagmas: is talking in the yard and beautifully dressed. Different from the rest of syntagmas, in a predicative syntagma, the connection between its members is of reciprocal nature. The subject dominates the predicate, determining the person and number of predication, while the predicate dominates the subject, ascribing to it some action, state, or quality. In our example, the predicate is talking is determined by the subject as a third person and singular in number. And the subject, a girl, is busy with some process of talking as it is ascribed to it by the predicate. Since syntagmatic relations are actually observed in utterances, they are described by the Latin formula as relations in presentia or in the presence. The other type of relations, opposed to syntagmatic and called paradigmatic, exists between elements of the system outside the strings where they co-occur. elements enter into paradigmatic relations when they have the same potential to appear in the same context and functionally substitute each other. As Haspelmath indicates in his book Understanding Morphology, we have syntagmatic elements in a sequence along the horizontal dimension, while along the vertical dimension we have a paradigmatic elements in substitution. If we take the following examples or phrases, Nick was offensive, the word on the wall was offensive, the politician's speech was offensive, and his manner was offensive. All these expressions and infinitely many more can combine with the predicate was offensive. So, they all have the same syntagmatic relation with the rest of the sentence, as they can all figure in the same position in its structure. In other words, they all have the equivalent function, that of a subject as a constituent in sentence structure. In this respect, they can all be classed paradigmatically as noun phrases. Paradigmatic relations between lingual elements are especially evident in classical paradigms of categorical forms of parts of speech. The minimal paradigm consists of two oppositional forms, and because of this it's called a binary paradigm. This kind of paradigm we see, for instance, in the expression of the category of number of nouns, singular and plural, as boy and boys, box and boxes, child and children, or the case, common case and possessive case, for instance, boy and boys with apostrophe s, or children and children's, again with apostrophe s. More numerous paradigms are observed in the expression of grammatical categories of adjectives and verbs. For instance, the grammatical category of the degrees of comparison of adjectives is represented by a ternary paradigm, that of the positive, comparative, and superlative degrees, such as large, larger, largest, clever, cleverer, cleverest, tall, taller, tallest, beautiful, more beautiful, most beautiful, etc. And quaternary paradigms are observed with verbal categories like play, plays, played, will play, or play is playing, was were playing, will be playing. Paradigmatic relations between lingual units cannot be directly observed in a sentence. That is why they are referred to as relations in absentia or in the absence. Summing up the above mentioned, we can conclude that the forms of language at any level are organized along these two dimensions or axes. They combine into larger structures along the horizontal syntagmatic axis. Sounds or letters combine to form morphemes. Morphemes combine to form words. Words combine to form phrases. Phrases combine to form sentences. And finally, sentences combine to form a text. When different forms have the same potential to occur in the same structural context and are therefore equivalent in function, they are paradigmatically associated as members of the same class of items. It is necessary to see that this two-dimensional mode of organization provides the potential to generate infinite expressions from a limited number of language means. Besides this, they represent the basic principles for linguistic analysis at all levels. The second part of our lecture is devoted to hierarchical structuring of language systems. In modern linguistics, language is regarded as a system of signs which is organized or structured by the principle of hierarchy of levels of lingual units. The essence of this hierarchy lies in the fact that units of any higher level are analyzable into units of the immediately lower ones. It means that morphemes are formed of phonemes, words are formed of morphemes, sentences of phrases and words, and so on. But this hierarchical relation does not imply that it might be reduced to the mechanical composition of larger units from the smaller ones. Units of each level are characterized by their own specific functional features according to which they differ from each other. The lowest level of lingual units is a phonemic level which is formed of phonemes. Phonemes are not signs yet, as they have no meaning. They serve as material elements to build the higher level segments, morphemes and words. The function of phonemes is purely differential, as they differentiate morphemes and words as material bodies. For instance, bed and bed, sheep and sheep, cat and cap, and so on. Units of the higher levels are already meaningful, therefore they represent signs. The level located above the phonemic is a morphemic or morphological level. The morpheme is the smallest meaningful component of the word. It's built up by a sequence of phonemes or even by one phoneme if it has a meaning. For instance, the words rosy, comes, and boys consist of two morphemes, one of which is the root morpheme, which is built up by a sequence of phonemes, whereas the other morpheme is an affixal inflection represented by a single meaningful phoneme, respectively indicating in the word rosy grammatical meaning of quality, in the word comes grammatical categories of present tense, third person and singular number, and in the word boys the grammatical meaning of plural number. The third level in the lingual hierarchy is the lexemic level, represented by words as lexical items or lexemes. The word is built up by a sequence of morphemes or one morpheme, and it is the smallest designating or naming unit of language. It designates things, for instance, dog, woman, table, book, river, etc. Qualities as in quiet, beautiful, round, interesting, deep, etc. Actions, states or processes as in the words bark, laugh, stand, read, crawl, and so on. The fourth level in the hierarchy of language system is the syntactic level, the main unit of which is a sentence. The sentence is an elementary full sign as it not only designates a certain target situation or event, but performs communicative function as well, transmitting a comparatively completed piece of information. For instance, the sentence, "The American delegation arrived in Tbilisi for a 3-day visit," designates a particular target event of objective reality on the one hand, and transmits the corresponding information about this event on the other. But the sentence is not the highest unit of language in the hierarchy of levels. The highest level of lingual units is the textual level, represented by text. Traditionally, from the structuralist viewpoint, text can be defined as a sequence of thematically interrelated, well-formed sentences. For instance, in the text given below, all the sentences are thematically interrelated under the headline Kate Middleton and Prince William's relationship. Let's read the text. You have it on your monitors. Kate Middleton and Prince William's relationship. Kate and Will's romance blossomed at university, where they regularly saw each other in lectures and tutorials and around the university halls. The couple connected through their love of sport and gap year experiences. By the time they entered their second year at university, Kate and Will had moved in together as flatmates, but insisted they were only friends. However, the pair soon became closer and started developing feelings for each other. Kate and Will tried to keep their relationship a secret from the press, but when they were spotted kissing on the slopes of the Alps whilst on a skiing holiday in Switzerland in January 2006, they could no longer hide. On this example, we can clearly see that text is actually a communicative unit of the highest rank. This text, for instance, contains considerable and interesting information about Kate Middleton and Prince William's relationship. The informative potential of any text is determined by the fact that, unlike a sentence, it can designate a whole set of extralinguistic events or situations which constitute the target, that's referential space, of the given text. According to the structural definition, the lower border of the text is restricted, as it implies a sequence of at least 2 sentences. However, the structuralist approach to text definition leaves its upper border open because of the varying diapason of the theme. On this basis, linguists differentiate structural types of text into microtext and macrotext. In microtext, sentences center around one concrete theme, while in macrotext, microtexts are united by a hypertheme which is derived from the constituent microthemes. But there exists another interpretation of the notion of text. From the functionalist viewpoint, a lingual unit of any length, be it a sequence of thematically interrelated well-formed sentences, one simple sentence, a phrase, or even a word, can be defined as a text if it performs a communicative function. This definition explains the existence of such one-word tags as fire, help, slow, and many others that are restricted by the setting of the corresponding speech act. Thus, we have discussed the main methodological problems of linguistic analysis that are of paramount importance for grammar too. That's dimensions and levels of linguistic analysis that imply syntagmatic and paradigmatic relations between lingual units on the one hand and hierarchical structuring of language system on the other hand. Summing up the lecture, we would like to underline once more that the forms of language at any level are organized along these two dimensions or axes, providing therefore the potential to generate infinite expressions from a limited number of language means. Lingual units combine into larger structures along the horizontal syntagmatic axis, while along the vertical dimension we have paradigmatic elements in substitution. We have also analyzed hierarchical organization of the language system, focusing on the text as a lingual unit of the highest communicative value. That's all for this lecture.